Hey there, this is Fiasco. We're doing a live recording for Ultimate General Civil War. We're continuing our Confederate Let's Play, the normal campaign, and we're working on the Big Army strategy. So without further ado, let's get back into it. We're going to jump into the Battle of First Winchester here. Last episode, we took care of prepping this army to go into the battle after the first battle, or after Battle of Shiloh. Let's jump into it. So for First Winchester, we're going to be asked to assault this village here, or this town, whatever. We're going to be doing so over open terrain. We have 8 brigades, so they're 15 brigades. However, numerical parity, give or take, 13,000 to roughly 12,000. Seems the Federals are defending, and we need to get at it. And here we get our victory conditions. Inflict at least 30% more casualties to the enemy than we receive. Generally, I remain confident that we'll be able to do that. So normally I click off all the units that are here and then line them out in the manner that I please, but I don't think we need to do that here, as there's only a couple of units. But we need to take a look at what we've got. So we've got Lorenz's, Mississippi's, 42s, Mississippi's, and Enfields. Then we have, of course, General Johnston, current commander of 1st Corps, battery of 24-pound howitzers, 12 of them, and a large unit of cavalry who are going to be harassing flanks. And then Clyde Barrett, evidently, in command of the supply of the wagon chain. So we're going to be asked to take this village here, and ultimately my medium-term objective is to occupy this copse of trees and use it as kind of a fort or bunker from which to launch an attack into the town itself. I also want to secure this terrain here, the high ground along this way. We're going to push into the town, and I want to basically treat this as my new flank. I am not terribly inclined to take this copse of woods from the Union, although obviously if I'm able to do so, take this and then the town itself, it gives Confederate forces a commanding portion of the town. Regardless, if I get far enough back into the town, in order for the Union to engage my forces, let's say I'm right about here, in order for Union troops who are using this as a bunker to come and engage me, they need to be in the open while I'm in a covered position. And the number one strategy that we're going to be trying to maintain here is, whenever possible, turn even offensive operations into defensive operations. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and stick our our Springfield Armed Regiments out front, 9th and 11th Infantry. We're going to go ahead and flank them with the Mississippi Boys. But we're going to go ahead and use our Enfields and our Lorenz's as our elite fire brigade, so to speak. And these are our best units, and we want to make sure that they're being used to best effect. We're going to go ahead and get all of ourselves operated in a little bundle here. And then my intention is to detach skirmishers almost immediately. And what's our next mantra? Infantry advancing without recon is infantry advancing into an ambush. So let's jump into it. Let's pause and issue our initial orders. And oh, wow, the Union already has skirmishers coming to meet us. So let's go ahead and return the favor. So they know we're here. Their recon is certainly aware of our existence. But hopefully we can keep them from hemming up our advance too terribly much. Oh. There's a relatively large unit of artillery. Let's get our guys into some kind of cover. more skirmishers. If I can, I'd like to get the 5th Infantry Light Company. I'd like to get them in this farmhouse. We have our first hardened target. Okay, so that's great. They've got artillery and they're pouring fire into light infantry in a wheat field. This is ideal scenario. Now, ideal scenario if they wouldn't be firing, but as far as I'm concerned, they're wasting their ammunition. They've taken very light casualties to that kind of fire. And we're in a position where we can hopefully capitalize on that. Skirmishers in open ground. Hopefully, even carbine cav can make that an effective trade. Now, I'm nervous about the 5,000 some infantry. That represents a significant portion of the Union force there in those woods. It's not great. So how do we approach this? There's a couple options. One, we could just do sort of a flying column and throw our guys in the front, and that just seems like a mistake. So we're going to use our skirmishers to sort of fix them from the front, and we're going to approach and try and flank the force. Now, I don't know what surprises may be waiting for us in these woods here, and that's what our recon is to go and try and find out. Now, don't be afraid of the pause button. This particular game especially, if you're not paying attention, things can go wrong in the blink of an eye. And ultimately the objective is to essentially flank with these two wings here and then push 2nd and 8th Infantry right to just, they're going to be the base upon which the rest of the force maneuvers. Alright, perfect. So Atwell is busy wasting his shots on the 6th Infantry skirmishers. So I'm pretty hard on my skirmishers. If you were a light infantryman in the Confederate Army under my command, I'm sorry. And there's a relatively fresh unit of infantry delivered basically right on top of an artillery unit. Unfortunately, it looks as if Atwell's getting off a volley at dangerously close range, and the 6th Infantry, which is a shame, but it is what it is. And the same way into Hampton with 5th Infantry, and we're not going to get a chance to make good on that. So this is obviously a bad place for the 11th Infantry skirmishers, and they're not going to stand up to a lot of fire. But the reason I want them there is that the AI will fixate on the skirmish unit right in front of it. And I've got one coming up right behind it. Neither one of these are going to be terribly combat effective, but it's going to allow me to focus my firepower on Collins and then breach and get a position in the woods. I need to stop letting them waste their time. Alright, so Collins has gotten to the point where his unit's on the edge of shattering. Or not shattering, but routing, and they've routed. So this is the opportunity we need to seize in order to push into the woods. And now 6th Infantry is going to shift again and provide a base of fire either into the rear of Gordon or alternatively into Atwell, depending on what we got. And actually, it occurs to me that the cavalry here is in an ideal position in order to kind of disrupt the federal position as it currently stands. And my disastrous approach with 9th and 5th may actually end up being advantageous, as the Federals are attempting to use cavalry in the same manner that I was using them as a disruptor. So somewhat messily, we've taken the woods. And now we have a safe place to operate from. Now 6th Infantry is in urban terrain behind the Union position. And while my approach is far from clean, at this point in time, the Union are going to be hard-pressed to win this battle. They need to keep me out of the city, and I'm already in it. Yankee cavalry is maneuvering in my rear. That's fine. I've got skirmishers who are going to watch that. Dismounted cavalry just keeps those skirmishers honest. And now the 24-pounders are in position, shelling the city from enough of a safe, from a close enough distance that they can use probably case shot, and it's going to make it very hard for the Union to dislodge me from the bank of woods here. So one of the negative consequences of trying to live record is you can basically play this game well or you can talk. And I have more fun. I don't know. I catch more teaching opportunities, or I feel like I do a better job when I live record, but I also feel like my play suffers and it gets messier. So I'd like to merge 8th Infantry with another unit, but they're both too large to do that. So right now the plan is for the skirmishers of 6th Infantry, Light Company, to protect our rear against any sort of marauding cavalry, and then 9th Infantry will be fending off any Union thrusts to what has now become my right flank. And then I'm going to be pushing forces into the city in order to attempt to kind of create a battle line. And amusingly, 5th Infantry will be supporting 6th. And we're going to push Collins and then Gordon and then eventually Hatch. And the idea is we're going to establish a line around here, basically. We've got 48 minutes to do it. We're going to push the Union out of the city. If at any point in time, 9th Infantry, I feel like they're trading poorly, I can bring 11th Infantry to replace. But I've already got 8th providing nice flank fire. I've got 1st Howitzers dropping cavalry fire and artillery fire. Urban fights like this, the game gives you plenty of opportunities to launch your men right into a battle. And street fighting has historically never been a particularly clean mode of battle for any party involved. Historically, there were plenty of opportunities for both the Confederacy and the Union to engage in house-to-house fighting, and it did occur, and it was never easy when it happened. So Gordon really must hate the idea of cavalry flanking him. Which is fine by me. It's more opportunity to isolate Collins. And there's Collins has had enough. Which is great. Gives me an opportunity to go ahead and send 8th and 2nd Infantry in. These are our good units. They're going to operate as kind of this is going to become the new anvil. And they're going to push the Union out of the city. Urban fighting is interesting. All parties from just about every angle have 100% cover. Makes it really hard to get truly decisive casualties without something like a 24-pound howitzer providing artillery fire. It also makes cities, if you can station troops on the edge, this is sort of like the Union tutorial battle, for example. You can station troops on the edge, it makes it very easy to hold a city. My guys are asking about ammo, and hey, I just happen to have a whole bunch. So this is the perfect sort of timeline with which to capture Winchester. So there's 17 minutes left in the actual battle, and I have to hold it for 40 minutes to truly own it, to end the fight. So the time will run out before this clock ticks to 0, and I'll have the full opportunity of this fight to earn experience, inflict casualties, do all the things that you're supposed to be doing. And I really want to bully on artillery, cavalry, and skirmishers here. Infantry, despite being the bulk of both armies, is amusingly something you can, I wouldn't say ignore, but it's something that you can target, prioritize other things higher, more focus. And it's because these skirmisher units are so hard to destroy, because they have this, I don't know, damage reduction effect. Alright, so 9th Infantry is traded pretty 1-for-1, which is unfortunate because they're a relatively experienced unit, even if they have 1842s. We're going to go ahead and put them there to watch our rear against the cavalry. We're going to go ahead and push our artillery up a little more aggressively with 8th to support, and see if we can't get Babbitt to leave us alone. But at this point, the Union does not control this city, and nor is it likely they'll get it back. I've got a pretty okay battle line here of units who are in good condition, and they're well led, and the game is giving me the opportunity to quit. Obviously, I'm not going to, especially now that the battle's turned in my favor. Now's the chance to get casualties. Now's the chance to get kills. This is where you make battles like Gaines Mill a lot easier, because the manpower pool is kind of bookended by the big battles. You know the Union's going to have about 60,000 going into Gaines Mill, so that's what you need to be ready for. You got to be ready to fight that. All right. Union's decided that things have turned such that they can justify a charge, I guess. Yeah, seems like an attack across the line. They're going to have a bad day here in a little bit. Oh no. Alright. So here's why I don't like melee. Even if you win, your guys are usually exhausted. Exhausted and disorganized. Unable to really mount a real fight. So that was a pretty messy charge. We received a pretty messy charge, but it looks like the carbine-armed First Mounted Infantry was able to turn that fight around, and I probably should stop this pursuit. But I'd like to run them off the field if I could. And really kick the Union out of this city for once, for good at this point, if I can. And so that's why we're pushing 2nd Infantry up to try and occupy this corner. Nope. Okay, good. Good that I detached those skirmishers. I don't think there's any profit to be had, really, from pushing them out of there and eating the casualties needed to do so. We're still going. At this point in time, we're just unloading carbine shots into them, so this is actually basically free kills. There's a little bit of melee here and there, but they're technically able to reload, which means they're not in engagement range. Get your one shot and get out of there. I don't want you. That seems like a bad plan. Alright, so even though they want to attack, apparently they're exhausted too. And if they weren't before, they're going to be now. There's going to be 3 units providing fire. And unfortunately, 5th Infantry is right on the edge, right? So they're stopping to shoot, not getting effective orders. Yeah, you can order these units that are right on the edge to stop shooting altogether. And I do that because I want to get them in position. I want to get 6th in a place where 6th can support and take some of the weight off 5th so that 5th can have a chance to recover. And now 5th is mostly recovered. Anything above 50, and they're going to get a good volley, and that's going to make them feel good about themselves and push them all the way up to 70. So not shooting sometimes is exactly what you want to do. And somewhere in there, some skirmishers got routed as well, which is a great. So now 5th and 6th are doing a pretty good job holding the south edge of the city. They've got clear line of sight to anything that might try and approach, and there's no real window for the Union to come at me. Babbitt is taking fire from, looks like artillery, from infantry in a wooded position, and if I can get the skirmishers here, into place as well, they're going to be being shot at from all sides. And then that's a pretty untenable position for the men in Babbitt's unit to be in. So the Union's been placed in basically a lose-lose position here. This is a messier battle than I would like, but I think it was fun, and it was illustrative of how you go about attack and how you can turn these fights into defensive affairs. And it's really all about the cover terrain. Covered terrain, supporting fire, principles of attack, recon, Schwerpunkt, to borrow the phraseology from, I want to say von Clausewitz, but I'm not actually sure. Just force, overwhelming force at the point of attack, and then supporting troops to make sure that that offensive, when it goes in, has the support it needs. So we're going to go ahead and detach skirmishers here from 5th Infantry. This is just to close the gap to make sure that there's no opening right here or window in which the Federals could pour forces. I actually want them in the woods against the cavalry here. Mounted cavalry in woods is going to have a bad time. These guys, you know, they have bayonets. Collins is a nice flank shot. So 5th Infantry is feeling pretty good now. They were on the edge of breaking a second ago, and now they're at 85, probably 90 here before too long. Yep, there's 90. How much more can Collins take? Secure your lines, you know, get integrity. Your position. If I was so inclined now, I could actually send these forces to take the woods. I'm not entirely sure I want to. I don't think there's profit in it. This battle's going to be over soon. This disastrous offensive here for Gordon. He's going to have a bad day here in a second, too. There's the sorts of casualties we're looking for. This is a messy fight, but a fun one. I kind of don't always really enjoy the fights where it's just kind of a clean, you know, one-sided victory. It's not super enjoyable for me. I like winning, all that kind of stuff, but I like it to feel like a battle. And even when I've played this battle before, and I have a loose idea of what to expect. The AI does a good job of throwing wrinkles or new things at me that I need to be aware of. You know, and this feels like how a battle like this would go. I imagine the Federal commander on the scene would retreat at this point in time instead of needlessly throwing the lives of his men away at these piecemeal attacks. I mean, there's no way that Donnelly could ever feasibly displace the Confederate position here. So here's a nice trick. If you're on the defensive in this position, 2nd Infantry and 6th Infantry, they're not actually moving anywhere, but leave them on run anyway. When they're stationary like this and they're on run, the brigade has to pivot if it wants to shoot, and they'll do so much faster running than they will if they're on walk. And then I don't know, somehow miraculously Donnelly decided that that was fine. Took all that fire. Didn't seem any bit flustered for it. Skirmish Cav continue to be some of the most bang for buck units in the game. These guys are real all-stars. I'm debating how much I want to put them out there, risk them to try and get some cavalry or some artillery kills. If I had enough brigades to bring, if I could have brought 2 units, it'd be a no-brainer discussion. I would be sending both of them out there in a little wolf pack. And then now we've got skirmishers holding off an entire brigade by themselves. Because I know that the Federals have a battery. I kicked it out of here. It was here a second ago. We shot it out, and I want to see if I can't get it. I'm getting a little greedy, I must admit. There he is. Ooh, and a supply wagon. That's just free money. It depends on what those cannons are pointed at. Okay, good. They're wasting their shots on my my infantry. Let's get a 2 for here. Alright, so we got that. Got the supply wagon. Now we got to figure out how to get it out. And I weirdly think that the answer is just straight up the middle, which normally you don't want to do with a supply wagon. Then we've got the cav here. Can we keep them routed the entire time? Sort of like stun locking. I don't want a melee. I mentioned this before, I don't know why, but artillery is surprisingly tanky when it comes to being attacked by cavalry. So Babbitt here probably isn't long for the world, but if he's not, I want to make sure that he goes out of here. I don't think they have a whole lot left in the woods with which to contest me. Okay. So we're getting to the point now where I think, and this is the sort of gamey part, we can probably push the remaining Union forces into this little corner here and mop them up. And I can't think of a good reason not to do it. I want to keep harassing Hampton. I'd love to nab this entire battery, brigade. And I imagine we're going to do exactly that here in a second. Yep, there we go. Ah! Okay. Well, now they have a way that they can push into the city. Those skirmishers are going to do a pretty good job holding them back, but they're not going to hold them forever. Fortunately, Gordon's about had enough. And there. So the Confederates have, for the most part, taken any covered terrain from the enemy. We operated from here and pushed into this part of the city, pushed and took kind of this L shape here, and then slowly kind of baited what was left. Not baited, waited for them to abandon that, and then they did. And then when that opportunity came, we sent 11th and 9th to just secure this outside edge. And now 8th becomes the anchor there, and the task force of 2nd, 5th, and 6th starts trying to deal with Collins and Gordon, while a dismounted cavalry unit works on a mounted cavalry unit. And that's mostly because dismounted, they take less damage from guns. And if there is any counter fire, I don't want it to get to my guys. Tightening the noose. Okay, so there's nowhere for them to go now. And they've, I guess, realized it. Let's close the noose on the infantry as well. This is not how I wanted this to go. They're in the city and I'm in the open. That seems backwards to me. Go. I'm continuously impressed with the things that I can ask dismounted cavalry to do, especially with carbines, and the rate at which they will reliably perform. Okay, we're back in the city. Looks like it's pretty much just Collins at this point in time. Well, there are still some troops on this map somewhere. There's about 600 left somewhere. But I don't feel like hunting them down. So, bloodier than maybe it should have been. I'm sure I could have done better, but I had fun, and I hope you did too. This is... We'll meet up again at the camp screen. Oh, there's Gordon. Okay, so there are more troops. Okay, well, if they're right there, let's get the kills. Let's make this a complete route. Yep, okay, 631, top right screen, red blue bar, 631 left for the Union. We will get what we can before the game decides that the Federals have had enough, or I decide I'd rather just get off and go to bed. So I was signing off. Let's go ahead and do that. This has been the Battle of First Winchester, the Confederate playthrough. Like I said, it's a bloodier fight than it should have been. I could have won this battle more cleanly, but I had fun, and I hope you did too. We'll meet again on the camp screen before we move along with the Confederate campaign, working towards the Battle of Gaines's Mill. This is Fiasco, and we're signing off. Hey, this is Fiasco again. Really quick interlude before I really sign off the video for real. This is the post-battle screen at First Winchester. I hit finish a couple seconds after clicking and telling you guys I was signing off. Here's the casualty screen. 3,100 for the Federals and 77 and change for the Union's forces. That's by almost every measure, especially as the Confederacy, a draw at best, and possibly even a defeat or a Pyrrhic victory at best. And that's because you need to be managing that manpower pool, and the Union has such a great advantage in that field relative to the Confederacy that anything that's not more strong than that is going to be rough. However, we did win the battle, and we did inflict some pretty heavy casualties. Those are good numbers. I mean, a force of 10,000 to lose a total of maybe 8 and change. I mean, that's significant. What's big for the Confederacy, or what's great for us going forward, is every colonel I brought to this battlefield, except for Darren Cook, who got wounded, got promoted to brigadier general. That's a whole swath of brigadier generals we're going to need. And look, Sam Cable. He was the guy who was with us in the tutorial. He was a major in the tutorial battle. And Sam Cable, as is Kemper, I'm pretty sure, both of them have made it to brigadier general, and they're going to get themselves. They're going to go from commanding artillery batteries or infantry brigades, as the case might be. They're going to pick up whole divisions probably, and they're going to end up being major commanders probably in Second Corps going into the Battle of Gaines's Mill. We captured some supply wagons, so that's just free money, which is fantastic. Recovered some of our lost weapons and captured a bunch of Lorenzes from the Union, which is going to be fantastic, and some 12-pound howitzers, which, well, they're not the most beloved weapon on the planet, especially in this particular game. They get work done, and that's great. Also, a whole bunch more sharps, carbine, cav carbines to replace those from our casualties in the battle. I am not mega pleased with this particular figure, but I think overall the battle was fun, and in the macro sense of getting ready for Gaines's Mill, this screen right here is a big win. So I just wanted to make sure I showed you guys that, and then once again, thanks for watching. This is Fiasco signing off for good.